The true backbone of the American war machine was its fleet of transport and cargo aircraft. Join us as we explore every major U.S. transport and cargo aircraft that took to the skies during World War II. We begin with the strategic giants, the heavy transports. C-54 Skymaster. The Douglas C-54 Skymaster was America's premier four-engine heavy transport. Reliable, long-ranged, and capable of crossing oceans, it became the backbone of the Army Air Force's global logistics network. C-54s carried personnel and cargo across every theater and flew the dangerous hump route into China. Its success directly influenced post-war commercial aviation. C-69 Constellation. Arriving late in the war, the Lockheed C-69 Constellation represented the future of long-range air transport. Its speed, range, and advanced design made it one of the most sophisticated transports of the conflict. C-87 Liberator Express and C-109. The consolidated C-87 was a transport adaptation of the B-24 Liberator bomber. Fast and capable of long-range operations, it hauled cargo, personnel, and priority supplies across vast distances. A specialized tanker version, the C-109, transported desperately needed aviation fuel over the hump into China. C-108 Flying Fortress Transport. The Boeing C-108 was a transport conversion of the famous B-17 Flying Fortress. Used primarily for cargo hauling and VIP transport, it demonstrated how existing bomber airframes could be adapted to meet logistical demands. C-76 Caravan. A unique attempt to conserve strategic materials by constructing a transport aircraft largely from wood. Although the design ultimately proved unsuccessful, it reflected wartime efforts to preserve aluminum for combat aircraft. C-97 Stratofreighter. Derived from the B-29 Super Fortress, the Boeing C-97 Stratofreighter appeared late in the war. Its massive cargo capacity and innovative design pointed directly toward the future of military airlift operations. XC-105. One of the most unusual transports of the war was the experimental XC-105. Developed from the B-29 program, it tested concepts for future large-scale cargo aircraft and demonstrated the military's growing interest in specialized heavy transports. C-74 Globemaster. The Douglas C-74 Globemaster was among the largest transport aircraft developed during the war. Designed to carry heavy equipment and oversized cargo, it represented the growing importance of strategic airlift. Medium and utility transports. C-47 Skytrain and C-53 Skytrooper. Based on the DC-3 airliner, it hauled troops, cargo, paratroopers, and wounded personnel across every front. Its dedicated troop transport variant, the C-53 Skytrooper, became a cornerstone of airborne operations. C-46 Commando. The Curtiss C-46 Commando offered greater cargo capacity and superior high-altitude performance than the C-47. It became indispensable on the hump route and served throughout the Pacific and China-Burma-India theaters. Specialized variants included the C-113 and C-114, which explored additional transport and cargo configurations. C-45 Expeditor. One of the most widespread utility transports of the war was the Beechcraft C-45 Expeditor. Used for personnel transport, courier duties, navigation training, and communications, it served throughout every theater of operations. UC-78 Bobcat. Closely related to the C-45, the UC-78 Bobcat provided reliable transport for personnel, mail, and light cargo. Thousands were built, making it one of the most common American utility aircraft of the war. JRB Expeditor. The U.S. Navy operated its own version of the Beechcraft transport family, designated the JRB. These aircraft performed similar duties, carrying personnel, cargo, and communications traffic for naval forces. C-60 Lodestar and C-36 Electra. The Lockheed C-60 Lodestar and earlier C-36 Electra served as dependable short-range transports. They moved personnel and priority cargo quickly between bases and operational areas. Nordwind C-64 Norseman. The rugged C-64 Norseman excelled in remote regions where rough airstrips and harsh conditions challenged conventional aircraft. Fairchild UC-61 Forwarder. The Fairchild UC-61 Forwarder became another valuable light transport. Used for liaison, courier work, and personnel movement, it operated extensively behind the front lines. Civilian impressment aircraft. To meet growing transportation demands, the military also impressed civilian airliners into service. Aircraft such as the C-78, C-79, and C-84 supplemented the military transport fleet and helped move personnel and cargo across the expanding wartime network.
Liaison, rescue, and amphibious utility aircraft. L-1 Vigilant. The Stinson L-1 Vigilant served as a liaison aircraft, medical evacuation platform, and light transport. Its short takeoff and landing capabilities made it invaluable near frontline areas. L-4 Grasshopper and L-5 Sentinel. The L-4 Grasshopper and L-5 Sentinel became indispensable utility aircraft. They delivered messages, evacuated casualties, spotted artillery targets, and transported commanders between units. Grumman JRF Goose and J-4 Widgeon. These amphibious aircraft provided transport, rescue, and supply services across coastal regions and remote Pacific islands. PBY Catalina. Although best known as a patrol bomber, the PBY Catalina also performed important transport duties. It carried passengers, evacuated wounded personnel, delivered supplies, and conducted countless air-sea rescue missions throughout the war. JRD Utility Transport. The Navy also employed the JRD utility transport for personnel movement and logistical support, particularly in maritime environments. Gliders and specialized cargo aircraft. CG-4A Waco. The Waco CG-4A became America's primary combat cargo glider. Capable of carrying troops, jeeps, artillery pieces, and supplies, it played a major role in airborne operations. CG-9. The CG-9 was a smaller assault glider developed for specialized airborne missions. Though produced in limited numbers, it contributed to American glider experimentation. The CG-10 represented efforts to create larger assault gliders capable of transporting heavier cargo and equipment. CG-13 and CG-15. These larger gliders expanded airborne lift capacity and were designed to transport heavier loads than the standard Waco. CG-14. The CG-14 was among the most advanced American glider designs developed during the war, though it arrived too late to significantly influence combat operations. C-82 Packet. Appearing near the end of the conflict, the Fairchild C-82 Packet introduced a revolutionary twin-boom design and clamshell cargo doors. Its innovations would heavily influence post-war military cargo aircraft. Naval transport equivalents. R-38 Skytrain.
The U.S. Navy's version of the C-47, the R-38 performed troop transport, cargo hauling, and logistical support throughout naval operations. R-5D Skymaster. Likewise, the R-5D served as the Navy's equivalent of the C-54, providing long-range transport across the globe. The success of Allied operations depended not only on fighters and bombers, but on the transport aircraft that kept armies moving and supplied. From the legendary C-47 Skytrain to the globe-spanning C-54 Skymaster, from tiny liaison aircraft to giant strategic transports, these machines formed the logistical backbone of American victory. They may not have earned glory in dogfights, but they ensured that every soldier received the ammunition, fuel, food, and reinforcements needed to keep fighting. The U.S. transport fleet was the true engine of Allied power. Next time, every U.S. fighter escort and long-range escort aircraft used in World War II.